Now we have understood that listening is very important in communication. Even though in today's world people might think, speaking is only the thing is required in communication, it is just a false statement, because listening is as important as speaking. Because in a way you need to understand that other person have understood your point, whether it is your stakeholder or the senior management, and accordingly that's the smart way to communicate. Even if a message is not understood, the receiver should still acknowledge the message by saying, I'm not understanding. In that way the relationship is maintained. Can you explain that again? Like the sender, the receiver needs to encode his or her response carefully and keep in mind the potential effects of non-verbal and paralingual communication when giving feedback. So we have also seen that how the body language plays a very very important role, because in certain ways I have practically tried it in certain projects. Like if I go for a sales assign getting a contract, then I have to literally gauge the expression of the customer whether he's going to give the project or not, and the body language literally helps in that. So that we need to understand. So this is before going to the communication management plan, this is how the plan looks. But I want to touch base on communication technology. Another aspect of planning communication is determining the specific of how to communicate each item. Communications can take place in many ways. A few examples are like you have face to face, by telephone. What is the medium? Like fax, mail, instant messaging, or email, through virtual or in person meetings, and through intranet or internet based forums for information. These different means of communication are referred to as communication technology. To determine the appropriate technology to use, ask questions such as, would it be better to communicate the information through email? What technology is the team familiar with and comfortable with? How quickly do I need to communicate the information? Are there any confidentiality issues or security issues relating to the same? Then, like, I cannot send a approval on the document and etc. Like, very critical document. Should I send a letter through the email in order for it, or to get the attention, real attention? Like, as a project manager, because the organization have various projects to handle, so to get this issue and attention, should I communicate or should I personally communicate? So that's the major decisions that project manager takes. So it's very important to figure out that what exact, the medium, it depends on the criticality of the issues which you're going to communicate. And it is also depends on how you're going to, this is, if it is going to be very critical situation, then definitely, you'll go and meet the client if he is available locally. There are various methods of communications. When planning communication, it is also important to determine the communication method. What are these methods, which are grouped into the following category? Like interactive communication. This method is reciprocal and can involve two people or many people. One person provides information, others receive it and then respond to the information. Like for example, instant messaging, your WhatsApp, etc. Then there is a push communication. This method involves a one-way stream of information. The sender provides the information to the people who need it but does not expect the feedback on the communication. Example may be your status reports, right? You send a status report to your customer, but you don't expect any reply on that. It may depend on the criticality. Then your emailed updates or your B logs and company memos. Then there is a communication. In this method, the project manager places the information in a central location. The recipients are then responsible for retrieving or pulling the information from that location. This method is used to distribute large documents or to send information to many people. I usually do it for project plan, or when there are actuals to be distributed, etc., the actual tasks to be distributed, then you can use this method. In choosing a communication method, you should consider whether feedback is needed or not, and wherever possible, it's worth involving stakeholders in the final decision about which methods will meet their communication needs, since such decisions will need to support the stakeholder engagement efforts that are planned and necessary for the project. Because in at the end, whatever methods you choose, at the end whatever tools you choose, it's important that you involve your stakeholders in that, so that at the end they don't tell, yeah, project manager has just done something and that's why the result is a failure. Then comes meetings. Meetings are the critical component of the communication, and it is like important in planning the communication management process. In planning communication, the project manager is likely to use meetings to bring the team together to determine how information will be communicated on the project. More significantly, however, planning communication should involve thinking ahead about when, how, and how often meetings will be used on the project. I use meeting as a very critical tool for communication, and also for pushing the team ahead for the project objectives. Meetings are but in the real world it is problem because many project manager overdo it. They consider, some project managers consider inefficient sitting in the meeting, and some overdo it, thinking ahead about how and when meetings will be conducted, when they are appropriate, and when a less disruptive form of communication could be substituted, and who needs to attend meetings can go a long way toward in addressing the problem. So basically, whenever we are doing the meetings, or expect these questions about the following rules for meetings. You have to set a time limit and keep to it. Schedule recurring meetings in advance. Meet with the team regularly but not too often, because it becomes very headache if they have to, especially in software projects, they have to build a component and application. You can't be regularly meeting and disturbing their flows. Then have a purpose for each meeting. I always have a purpose that yes, client has put this escalation, we have to resolve it, or there is some conflict management issues within the team. Then create an agenda with team input. Distribute the agenda beforehand. Stick to the agenda. We have to stick to the agenda. Let people know that their responsibilities in advance. Bring the right people together. Chair and lead the meeting with set of rules. Assign deliverables and time limits for all work assignments that result from meetings. Document and publish minutes of meeting. It's very critical because today the client, you will have a requirements meeting and the client would have told something, and tomorrow he will say I have not told it. It happens on the political front. Then there are communication channels. When you add one or more person to the team, does the number of communication channels simply increases by one? No, there is substantial increase, and communication needs can grow rapidly with each added stakeholder. So whenever we say communication channel, it's nothing but the communication channel for the stakeholder. There is a formula associated for communication channel. It is n multiplied by n minus 1 by 2. N is the number of people. You should understand this formula for the exam. So that's the main thing. So just it is just a formula. And then you have various, so this is communication channel is nothing but what are the various, like your communication method, likewise the communication channel. So, and it is important that what is the communication channel, like for example the A to B communication, then B to C communication channel. So we need to understand, we always have a reporting structure, right? So that's how a communication channel is meant. Like I, as a project manager, I can mail status reports to the CND of the stakeholder thing. It's not necessary I have to sit and mail to n number of people. So that is the communication channel. Who will report to whom, and how the communication will happen, and what is the first level of escalation, what is the second level of escalation, what is the third level of escalation.